The Toronto Blue Jays and Vlad Guerrero Jr. Have not come to terms by the time Vlad's deadline has come and gone. And Toxic in the chat just starts off with Blue Jays LOL, which is how the rest of Major League Baseball is feeling, and disappointed but not surprised, which is how the Toronto Blue Jays fan base is feeling. And we kind of knew that this was probably going to happen, but it is still a devastating development for the Blue Jays. And it's one thing we have talked about here before. This team can't let this guy go. He is a legit franchise player, a face of the franchise, and a player that this fan base and country has a real connection with. And that is something that I think Atkins and Shapiro have some struggles with, because it can be a bit of a double-edged sword. It's great to talk up like, hey, we are the team of a country. An entire country is behind us, and when we get going, boy, you can feel that. But on the other end, this country, especially when it comes to not hockey guys, have a real connection with players that are even loosely associated with the country of Canada, right? Like Stephen Ames just moved here and we were like, dog, that's our guy. Let's go. And like Freddie Freeman, his mom was Canadian. So you know what? I'm going to play for Canada at the World Baseball Classic. It's our dude hitting grand slams against the Yankees in the World Series. Canadian, kind of, but Canadian. And Vladdy, like his dad is a legend in Canada. Vlad himself is born in Canada, and he's been in this organization for a really, really long time. And so you can talk up we're Canada's team, and that's great. But now the Canadian fan base is pissed because you might be letting one of our guys go. Again, very loosely associated one of our guys, but still one of our guys go. And like we were getting updates on this kid's journey the entire way through the minors. Sportsnet's running highlights. Anytime he is launching a 500 mile per hour or 500 foot missile into the stratosphere, we're getting updates on this guy throughout it. And then he comes to the big leagues and it's exciting. But even remember back then, we were excited about his debut, but you know what? We're going to wait it a little. We're going to kick the guy. He's just not ready yet. And then, to be fair, maybe he wasn't totally ready. But it feels like this has been mishandled at every turn. And you can't let that guy leave. And right now, the Blue Jays have as good a chance of signing him as 29 other teams. And the thing that everyone feels right now is a lot of frustration. No one feels confident. And that is a sign of what this front office has done with this baseball team. There is not one person in the fan base right now that is saying, don't worry, everyone. These guys will get the job done. No one's saying that. Vladdy saying now they're going to have to beat 29 other teams scares the hell out of a fan base that has come in second place to Ohtani, Soto, Burns, Sasaki. They were even in on Freddie Freeman and didn't get him. This team has come up short and a lot of guys. And so now the real feeling around this fan base is, okay, yeah, can't wait to see who the Blue Jays come in second to in this one before Vlad Guerrero eventually signs with the Mets or the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Red Sox or whoever it may be. All of it just feels so devastating right now. And there is, I can't remember an approval rating of a front office being so low. And the Blue Jays have had some rough ones, right? Gordash did not make, he did not shower himself in glory, we'll say, with a lot of the moves that he made, trading David Wells for an injured pitcher and whatnot. JP Ricciardi, there was the rebuild and all of that. At least there was a direction there, but it was there was a rebuild, and it turned out that the way they were going to come out of the rebuild is just, now we're going to have low money and we're going to sign a bunch of guys and trade for Troy Glaus and do all those things, but we don't need to go back over that. And then Alex Anthopoulos was our guy, and he was finally committed to bringing a winner to this this team in this country. And now you have these guys, and no one believes that these guys can get the job done. And Atkins, the less he talks, the better. He comes across as so smarmy and so know-it-all, and just oh, well, you need to get a good value. And he talks to everyone like he is the smartest guy in the room, which I mean, the amount of times he has come in second place and him still thinking that he is the smartest guy in the room is certainly an argument against participation trophies. But it is a very frustrating spot that the Blue Jays are in right now. And this would be the everlasting legacy of the Shapiro-Atkins group, right? It is constantly coming up short. They are a laughingstock right now, and that goes 10x with Vladdy signing elsewhere, right? So like you listen to some other podcasts and like the Jays don't get Sasaki and Jeff Passan's like, I'm so sorry, Blue Jays fans. I listened to the roundtable on the Athletic Baseball Show, and they're openly mocking the Blue Jays for trying to go after some of these guys while also talking about how other teams need to spend. And the Blue Jays, like, it's just, they're always in on these guys and it's right to the end and then they don't get it. And then a lot of us, oh man, it's this, that, and the other thing. And that podcast is actually nice because they'll go, yeah, why would they? This team isn't very good. And all of this is a showcase of what Shapiro and Atkins have done. If Vladdy leaves, smart money would suggest that whatever team he signs with, that will be the one that he is remembered with. Not the team that he has such a tie to, the country of, not the team that he signed with as a teenager, because they have absolutely failed him in Toronto. They failed to build around him. They failed to get him to this team to the levels that he deserves to be at. If he leaves Toronto, it is going to be oh dang, I forgot that Joe Carter started with the Cubs. I forgot that Sammy Sosa started with the Texas. I forgot I forgot Brett Favre started with the Atlanta Falcons. That's what the Blue Jays will be in the Vlad Guerrero Jr. story. Not the, well, he was a Blue Jay, and boy, they tried. They really did. And then he left, and he won 3 World Series with the Boston Red Sox. But no, he's a Blue Jay. No. No, the Blue Jays are going to be a footnote in any conversation around Vlad Guerrero Jr. or honestly of this era. They have been remarkably unrememberable, non-memorable, unmemorable, whatever you want to say. There's the whole Atkins Shapiro era has been so forgettable that it really is such a disappointment when it was supposed to be the key era. And I couldn't imagine this. If when Vlad and Bo come up, and there's the other ones too, right? Gurriel and Biggio, and they have Teoscar that they absolutely fleeced the Houston Astros for in that trade with Francisco Liriano. When those guys came in, and they're all on like their entry-level rookie base, whatever you call it in baseball, if I would have gone back to myself then and said, hey, just so you know, this team's not going to win a playoff game. Forget round. Game. Not going to win a playoff game. And Vlad's probably going to leave, having not won any of that. Oh, okay, well, at least we have... Oh, no. By the way, Kevin's not there anymore. Gurriel isn't there. They traded Gurriel and the best catching prospect. You're not going to know him yet, but best catching prospect. Traded him for a defensive center fielder who can't really hit, but does hit sometimes, but has a obvious weakness that and the entirety of Major League Baseball knows about. And Teoscar's gone. They traded him for a middle reliever. Like, it's astonishing that they had high-level players on entry-level deals and did nothing around them. It is... I just can't imagine this amount of failure being okay. And it is why I am stunned that Atkins is the one being in these negotiations working with this. Like, I can see the argument in keeping Shapiro around, right? Like, he redesigned the Rogers Center, he rebuilt the Dunedin facilities, and by all accounts, all of that did an awesome job. Also, presidents tend to get more than one GM. There's no argument for keeping Atkins around. The big league team is average despite spending the fifth most amount, on salary. The farm system is in shambles. Their draft and development system is non-existent. This team, if Vlad leaves, there's nothing. There is absolutely nothing. And yeah, you're right, like rebuilt the stadium, but you let Vlad go. Maybe you're not getting the big investment in brand new jersey sales that you would have if a Shohei or a Soto would have signed here. But we've all lived through the Blue Jays being irrelevant. And like it is kind of interesting to think about because, like, from 2015 on, this team at least has been in the public discussion in the summer, right? Like, the Rogers Center, it's not always full, but there's some people. Go back and watch pre 2015, right? Like, go back and watch. We've talked about it before. Carlos Delgado hitting home runs into entire empty sections. Vernon Wells doing the making leaping catches in front of, well, the front row is full, and then after that, there's nothing there. Like, this team, when it's irrelevant, it is really quiet around that ballpark, and it gets real empty real quick. And so, yeah, by all means, like, try to, oh, well, we come up with a number that we think is fair and a good risk on both sides. The risk on Vlad's side is sticking around with these assholes running this team. Like, it is in such a dire situation right now. With almost any other front office, I would be saying there's still a chance, but it really doesn't feel like it. It really feels like Vlad's about to leave. And certainly Bo's about to leave. They haven't even talked to the guy yet, and his contract is up because they've been so busy lowballing Vlad Guerrero Jr. that they haven't even come up with the low number that they're going to try to sign Bo Bichette for. And so now the next question is, what do you do? Because this is a team that fancies itself a competitor. And, like, they went out, they signed Santander. They didn't bring in Max Scherzer so that they can trade Vlad for 4 prospects at the deadline. They brought in Max Scherzer so that they can maybe win a playoff game once. You don't do that without Vlad. We've talked about this team sucks without Vlad. This team barely doesn't suck with Vlad. With those guys gone, there's nothing here. And so if they are miles ahead of everyone at the trade deadline, then it's easy. You don't do anything. If they're miles behind everyone at the trade deadline, then it's easy. You trade everybody and you start over, even though the hope of starting over is to get 2 players to build around like Vlad and Bo, but I digress. You start over. The problem is, I don't think either of those situations are likely for this team. I think the likeliest scenario is that the Blue Jays are within 2.5 games of the last wildcard spot. Either way. Either they're 2.5 games up in there in that middle slot, or they're 2.5 games back and pushing for that last playoff spot. And then what do? Do you risk letting Vlad leave for nothing? Do you risk Bo leaving for nothing and push toward a playoff spot? At that point, I think you do, because if you trade him away, you're not getting that kind of ticket sales again for a long time. So I am just so stunned that it has been allowed to get to this point, that these guys have screwed up basically everything that they have touched with this roster, and that they are still allowed to have the decisions around it. So that's the story around baseball.